Welcome back and Happy New Year. It's the start of 2023, first trading session of the year. Technically, really started at 6 p.m. Last night, Eastern time, that is. So I'm going to walk through today a couple different things. First, I'm trade journaling all of my trades now, although I think I may have missed the very last one from today. Taking pictures, putting notes, and storing it into OneNote. So I'm going to go through all my trades for the day. But before I do that, I just kind of wanted to touch on some things I've changed about my setup. So first of all, I tried to buy two 49-inch LG monitors, and I was going to stack them one on top of another, and I found that I was having to lean really far to see the very edges of the screen, a little too wide. And then I have an LG 38-inch ultra wide right now. I tried two of those side by side, both one in front, one to the side, crack in the front. It just didn't work, so not sure what I'm going to do yet. I don't really feel like I need the 6 monitor setup, and I don't really like smaller monitors. So working on that, but at some point you'll kind of see the background behind me change. I'll be in a different room. It'll kind of be the trading room. So that's pretty exciting, and that's what's going on. And then I've been still going through the Invest-A-Trade course, which has been awesome. Made a lot of progress. Still need to go through the supply and demand portion of the course, which is really long and probably the main meat of the course. And so I want to try and get that done as soon as possible, but also trying to learn it. A couple changes I made on my charts. Just have to zoom in here for you. So I do now have this orange line right here is the exponential moving average with a period of 9. And so I'm watching, and kind of one of the triggers is when something closes above or below. So if we are constantly, let's find a good spot here. Right here, it's kind of hard to see that orange line. I probably need to make it a little bit thicker so you can actually see it better. But this one, like, we were above it, and right here we closed below it. So that would be a sign, potential sign that we're going to go lower. And as you can see, we did actually go lower, just not for very long. And this is also kind of in the chop after the end of the day. So like if we come back here more into the middle of the day, like here's a candle that closed above, so that would signal that we're going to go higher. And we did go higher eventually, but then the very next candle closed below that orange line, which should signal lower. And so we did have a very, very strange day. We were down quite a bit early, 100-point drop if you were, I think it was at least that on the S&P 500, 3902 down to, not quite, 3815. So if you shorted in the morning and you held on, which would be key if you had the patience, you probably at least got down to somewhere in 3840, which is still an amazing one trade for the day. I did not get that trade in. I did not click that button. But so I've added that. I've also added, if you scroll in here, I'm going to widen it up. You can see this blue line. So this is a 5-period average, simple moving average. And then this yellow line is a 10-period simple moving average. And I colored them this way. You'll kind of see why in a second. But basically, whenever the blue line crosses the yellow line, it's a signal, potential signal that it's moving in that direction. So right here, we've got the blue line crossing the yellow line right here. And you can see that would be a signal to down. And so indeed, we do see a down. We see the blue line cross here. That's a signal to up. You can see we've been slowly trending up. So obviously when it's in chop and it's just kind of sine waving along each other, that doesn't really help. But I did color them that way for this purpose, which is that you already know I have cumulative delta on my chart, but I also added the MACD, which is a moving average convergence divergence. And this one happens to be a histogram. So I'm not going to cover the green and white. I'm just going to cover the blue and the yellow. It's basically the same thing as the blue and yellow up here. When this blue line crosses down, we are expecting its potential one sign for stuff to drop. So if I'm going to shrink this a little bit. If we look right here, let's kind of expand that out. If we look right here, that was a sign to drop. And you'll notice the 5 crosses the yellow in the next candle. Let's come back here. You can kind of see, at the beginning of the day, we had this blue crossing the yellow, which is referred to as a deadly cross because it's going to go down, and then the other one is referred to as a golden cross. So, if you use this as a signal early in the day and you got in and you shorted, you did really well. And even if you simply came to this golden cross, right, and got in and up. So, and then you can kind of see it just barely stays above, and you kind of got to be able to filter this stuff out. So you got to make sure it's going to be a pretty good cross. So that is kind of one of the other things I learned recently. So just added those to my charts to see how they're going to do. We'll see. I did use the MACD, so let me cover kind of the first trade, which actually happened last night when the markets opened. And this was the trade. And I'm trying to write down my thinking behind it. So the MACD line on the 5-minute chart was a clear deadly cross. And that was, I don't know if you even know if that's a good picture of it. It was right here. So here was that deadly cross. And you can see this is where I got in. So that was part one. Movement also moving down through the supply zone. So these red areas are supply zones. So that was kind of like, hey, we're moving down through the supply zone, which hopefully will come outside of it. I was late on getting in. I should have got in at 38.73, which is when I went to do it, but it dropped 2 points in the time I was making sure that it was a trade I wanted to take. So my stop was 38.77, so I had a 6 point, which would have been about a 4 point loss. So you can see 38.77. I didn't take a picture during the trade, I guess. Oh yeah, I did. Here we go. So here was, I entered here, my stop was here, and then my stop started at 38, what did I say, 77? Yeah, so 38.77, kind of right here. Top of that picture, but my target was way down here. So this is a Fibonacci retracement, so I'm not really going to cover that too much, but basically I moved the stop down to 38.75, which was the top of the supply zone after both the NASDAQ and the ES started going higher, because I really didn't want it to just spike up and lose an extra 2 points. And then others in the Discord that I'm on a couple, also were thinking about getting out of that trade or got out of that trade. But I just let it sit because that was the patience thing. And then I moved down the stop further to 38.73 based on it just sitting here at 38.70 for a while. I wanted to avoid any break to the upside. So at this point, I've already moved my stop down below that. But you can kind of see right here, we just pinged off this 50%. And so one of the things about this Fibonacci retracement, I guess I will cover it a little bit, is we start here and we're dropping. And so I measured this from the start of the drop down to the bottom, and basically there's some math and some studies and back testing that kind of, if you see this come back up and touch the 50%, then probably you're going to get down to negative 23.6%. I don't know what the probabilities of that are, how often it happens, but I've definitely been starting to watch it. So we did touch this 50, and this is where I dropped my stop to be lower. And that was kind of the first thought. So the second thought, update emotionally, I wanted to get out when it starts going back up. So we kind of got down to here. We had this candle right here, and it started going back up. And like, I'm sitting here emotionally watching it, and I'm like, I kind of wanted to get out and take the profit. But I let it run, basically showed the Fibonacci chart. And at this point, I basically moved the target to 38.6150, which is kind of right where that 23.6 retracement was. And unfortunately had people coming over for dinner at the house, and I wasn't able to just sit and watch it like I would have wanted to. This should say 38.6150. And so I moved my stop up to there, and I should have stuck to my original number of 38.50 as it did actually hit not very far later. So I was here. I basically stopped out here, and then this was the drop I missed. So if I would have put my target at 38.50 and let it go, totally would have hit it and still would have missed 6 points to the downside. All in all, and I would have watched, one of the things I was watching was where's this golden cross. So I probably would have held down to here and then even, been watching. And so this would be where I would like to have, hey, I bought 3, scale out one, when we get to 38.50 or 38.61, and then one at 38.50, and then let one run and scale back out when you see this blue line cross back across the yellow. So I was happy with the trade. As the first trade, kind of learning to let the trade just play out, although I did still cut it short. If no friends for dinner, I'm probably sure I hit my original target. So that was a good trade. I was happy. It was up 47.50 on one micro, which is pretty darn good. And then let's go to today. So first trade, basically MACD crossed on the 5-minute chart right here. You can see that happening, which was the sign of, hey, that's the upside. I did miss the first green candle, waiting for the golden cross, and this is where a tragedy just decided to strike. So many of you obviously know I trade the micro. You can see this says micro E-mini. And so if I click this right now, it's a live trade. It's basically $5 a point. Well, this one over here, I had this right next to it because this has the more depth of market on it. So like this one only shows 10 here and 10 here. This one shows like 30 in both directions or whatever it is. So I like to see this, and it's also based on the ES, not the micro ES. So I had this one over here, and I was ready to place the trade, and I've already made this mistake once, and I went, and sure enough, I clicked the ES, and pretty much what happened next was garbage. So you can see what happened in this trade. I basically bought right here, and I sold right here. Well, that was enough to lose me. And I also, so I clicked into the trade, realized it was the ES. I also clicked into it then after that on the micro, just to have 110% go wrong instead of just 100. So it dropped pretty much like a rock, and I lost on the micro. I don't really care. I lost the 2250, or something like that. And on the actual mini, it cost me $297. So basically $300 drop, pretty much like that. I should have just immediately clicked back out of it and cost myself $50 or something like that. But I was hoping it would just peak back up, but it did not. And so $300 just kind of, that sucks because I'm not trading the minis, I'm trading the micros. And so that's hard to overcome in a day with just trading the minis. So next trade was just dumb. I was trying to get it on the uptick and ended up getting stopped out. I got in right here, as you can see. I got out right here. I had my target set at 38.67, which is up here where this supply zone is, which you can barely see off the top of this picture. And I only was risking, what is that? Somewhere in the neighborhood of 7 points or something to win, up 30. So I don't feel too bad about that. This was almost kind of like catching a falling knife today, though, as well. So this one I just should not have been messing around in, and it was dumb. So, and probably part of that was left over from losing $300, and it was like, hey, let's try and get a little bit back. Next trade, basically we were bouncing in this demand zone. We did have a falling wedge. I drew this wedge a bunch of different ways. This one is probably not right. I was hoping that it would, when you break out of a falling wedge, generally you break up. That's kind of the trend. So it did break above it, which is what you see here. And I got in for two micro ES. And let's see how that turned out. All sorts of things then started happening incorrectly with just the interface, mostly user error, I suppose. So I have brackets set on mine. I had two. I got out with, I tried to get out with one, but then it basically looked like it shorted me instead of actually selling the one that I had, but it was because I had brackets set. And so it actually sold the two, and then I had a bunch of brackets that were still on the screen. So I figured out that. I went back to the simulator and figured that out. So that should be good. But I basically caught kind of from right here to right here. I did watch up here, but I was waiting for this kind of big tick to happen, and it didn't. So I did catch a nice scalp for, whatever that is, 4 points, something like that. So it wasn't too big, but I was overall, I felt happy with that trade. I watched the signal and I got out before, we came back down and broke even. So the next trade, I was basically looking for a quick down scalp with the potential to run down even further. And so I got in at 38.33. I don't have a lot of other kind of signals here, but basically we've been kind of doing this, and you can kind of see it. We go up and then we drop, and then we go up and then we drop, and then we go up and then we drop. And that was the falling knife. Every time we went up, people were like, oh, we're going to have a nice long run. And then we would just fail. So, and I think that happened 6 times today. Let me look. You can kind of see right here. So we drop, there's 1, there's 2, there's 3, there's 4, there's 5, there's 6, there's 7. And then finally on the 8th attempt, it's almost like we get there, but then the 9th attempt, we drop back down. So 7, 8, or 9, depending on how you want to view that, is how many times that happens. So I was basically trying to take advantage of what was going on, and kind of everything still seemed, we got this nice big green candle, and I was like, all right, let's take advantage of some shorts. The actual market depth looked good for having it be a struggle to really get higher than this. So you can see I put my stop really close, right? Like 3 3/4 points maybe higher. So I wasn't risking much. And initially I had my profit target much lower. And I eventually kind of pulled that up. So I did end up, and I kind of moved it down. I was sitting here watching, and I moved it down as we kind of came down. And I did catch a nice run from, what did we get in at? 38.33 down to 38.20. So I caught 13 points on the S&P, which was pretty good. I was very happy with that. And that's how I'm hoping, most of my trades go, is just there's good reason for getting in. I'm patient. I've got a good stop loss that prevents me from losing, and the risk to reward is enough. Next trade, basically, we had a rally up on a down day. We had hit the former demand zone, which is right here, which is now essentially supply, so it should be red. And it bounced, so I took the short. And I basically had a 5-ish point stop loss with a 15-ish point target. Let's see what happened. Essentially, I caught kind of the bottom of this red candle, and there was just a lot of chop going on in here. You can see the wicks on these 2 green candles. I mean, it was pushing up and then come back down, and push down and then come back up. And so there was definitely consolidation at this point, and there were lots of buyers when I finally got out, putting upward pressure that were on the tape or on the market depth. So I decided, let's just take a small win, and that was a good for like 3 3/4 points or 4 points or something like that. So I think that was my last trade of the day. I'm not sure 100%, but overall, super happy with the day. I would have been up substantially more had I not dumped $300 into one 10-second trade. So that kind of really stunk. Let me pull up my actual trades and the results really quick. And here are the kind of results. So this one was yesterday. That's the first trade I talked about. This was the really trade I felt really good about, and it could have been an easy, I think, $100 plus winner on one micro, which is pretty awesome. Commissions did get raised for 2023 on Tradovate by, I think, 12 cents total. So it used to be 132 and now it's 144. So not a huge deal. And then let's go to today. So you can see what happened today. Basically I lost $332.50, and 275 of that was in one trade. So, and really both of these trades together, like I should have lost $22.50, not $275. So instead I lost, $297.50 on one trade, which really was unfortunate. So if that doesn't happen, this obviously looks much, much better. You can see, that's one trade, and then this was the other trade that I just shouldn't have been in. And then the final 3 trades of the day, which were all winners, which I thought was great. But again, here's the kind of, total P&L was negative 241. So, if you take 225 or 275, I guess, sorry, take 275 out of that, I'm clearly profitable for today by about $35. And then you add the roughly 47 from yesterday, and it would have been a good day. So I'm not going to click the wrong button tomorrow. That's the goal. This is like number one goal. Make sure you click the right button when you want to buy or when you want to sell. So that's what I have for today. I really appreciate you guys watching. I hope you enjoyed the review. And I'm going to keep making these videos. Hopefully they're helpful for you. Let me know in the comments. Hit like, hit subscribe. That way you'll get notified when I have new content for you. So, which pretty much every day during the week, and depending on if I trade on the weekends or not, it'll pretty much be almost all the days. So have a great night. Again, Happy New Year. Hope your trading sessions are off to a good start for the year. And hopefully tomorrow we should see some action. I believe there's some big kind of market news coming, which should drive us up out of a range that we've kind of been stuck in for a while. So that'll be interesting to watch. Have a great night or morning or afternoon, wherever you're at. And we'll see you next time here on the channel. Bye for now.